Hello, I'm an old Vietnam vet. As I've told you before, I wrote a book anonymously. I wrote it without my true name on it, and I just call myself as the author, an old Vietnam vet. I did that because I believe that the message in that book was given to me by God. The title of the book is The Trashing of America: How Marxist Thugs Hijacked Our Nation. I'm making a series of weekly videos to send out to people to let them know about me and the book. And the title of tonight's video, and tonight's video is going to be very unique, and you might think it's very harsh. The title of this video is Dear Mrs. Obama. And what I'm trying to do, Mrs. Obama, is to tell you a little bit about that flag you so vagrantly disrespected. You remember that ceremony, you and the man you call Barry, your husband, the man we call Barack? We don't know who he is or where he's from, but we know you call him Barry. And that's one of the alias names we've seen, one of the phony names we've seen. We don't know why he hides his identity. We've got a clue. We think he's not only incompetent to be the president, we think he's absolutely ineligible constitutionally. Mrs. Obama, when you and Barry, the man you call Barry, attended a ceremony honoring the victims of 9/11, you leaned over and you said something to him, and it was interpreted by a lip reader. And what we're almost certain that you said was, all this over a dang flag. And you didn't say dang. You cursed the flag, Mrs. Obama. And I want to talk to you about that. Now, Snopes or whatever you call them on the internet says that the possibility exists that you didn't say that. Well, I don't trust Snopes, because it's two people, a married couple, and they're both liberal. And you know what I believe, Mrs. Obama? I believe liberal thought is an oxymoron. I don't think liberals do think very much. And tonight I'm going to tell you what I think about your comment about the D flag. Boy, that's really something. You really stepped out there with that one. You know, in 1965, I was on a hilltop in Vietnam, and a helicopter came in. It was one of those two-seater helicopters. It's a little plexiglass bubble, and we called them bubble jobs. And the pilot angrily was pointing over at a body of an American serviceman laying on the ground, and then he was pointing to the seat. And what he was obviously communicating was, somebody picked the body of that soldier up and put him in this helicopter. Well, I was standing there and nobody was doing anything. And so I took action. And I picked that man up in my arms. And I remember how slight he was. He was a small man. And I remember very clearly that it felt as if he didn't weigh anything at all. And I walked a few steps over to that helicopter. I opened the door, I put him in the seat, I buckled him in, and I shut the door. And I gave the thumbs up to the pilot and watched the body of that man begin a long, long journey home. I want to tell you a little bit about that journey, and about the journey of all the men and women who have given their lives for their country. When they're buried, they're brought to the burial plot in a casket, and the casket is covered with a beautiful, new, crisp American flag. And personnel wearing Class A uniforms from their unit go over to the casket, take that flag, and very meticulously fold it so that it will stay folded in a triangle for a long, long time. And then one of the soldiers, the ranking man, will take that flag, walk over, stand before the mother or the wife of the fallen soldier bend slightly, and as he extends the flag to the family member, he will say, "On behalf of a grateful nation." That's all they get, Mrs. Obama. I know you were at a ceremony honoring the family of the victims of 9/11, and most of those people are now millionaires. They've been compensated with over $1 million each because they lost someone in a terrorist act. Well, it doesn't work that way in the armed forces, Mrs. Obama. All the family gets when they lose a service member is that beautifully folded flag handed to them on behalf of a grateful nation. And to have you stand there and say all this over a ding flag, come on, Mrs. Obama, that's more atrocious than Marie Antoinette, who said of the starving peasants of France, "Let them eat cake." What you said was, "I'm annoyed with this ceremony over that D flag." Come on, Mrs. Obama. And then you said it to your husband, the man you call Barry, and he shook his head smugly as if in agreement. You know something? That's not right. We deserve more as a nation. We deserve more from you. You know, I heard that you were quite a scholar, and I know you graduated from Harvard Law School, and I know that throughout your educational career, you were greatly honored as a student. I think you should demand your money back because you didn't get it. You're not an educated woman at all. Earlier, I heard you say that when your husband, the man you call Barry, was nominated as the presidential candidate of the Democratic Party, that was the first time that you'd ever been proud of America. Have you ever heard of the Normandy invasion? You know something, Mrs. Obama, in 1969, I was sitting in a CIA compound in Quy Nhon, South Vietnam, and I was sitting next to a first sergeant from Special Forces, and we watched an astronaut of the United States walk on the moon, and that man cried unabashedly. He was so proud to see another person from the United States walking on the moon. And that nomination of your husband, the man you call Barry, that was the first time you ever found reason to be proud of America. Have you ever heard of the Normandy invasion? Have you ever heard of the United States being the first nation to put a man on the moon? You know something, Mrs. Obama? You are the first time I have ever had reason to be ashamed of the First Lady of the United States of America. You gave me cause when you talked about our damned flag. Good gracious, Mrs. Obama, you need to present a stronger image, not as a Democrat, just as a human being, just as an American. I know you and your husband don't seem to care much about America, and I know that it would be a really good thing if your husband could learn that when the Star-Spangled Banner is being played, he should put his hand over his heart, not anywhere else. I'm ashamed of you. I'm ashamed of what you and the man you call Barry have done to this nation, and in the way you have disrespected it. We deserve more, Mrs. Obama. I think you know that.